Hi, I'm Chris Tucker, and this is the Corporate Refugee, a podcast about freedom through proven systems. Today's guest is with Marty Langenderfer, founder and CEO of Spavia, a wellness franchise system that is built on durability, responsible growth, and franchisee engagement. Not hype, not speed, but only systems that hold. I'm Chris Tucker, and this is the Corporate Refugee, a podcast and newsletter about freedom through proven systems. This work is for capable, thoughtful professionals navigating moments where the systems they're inside are still functioning but no longer fully fit. Not because something is broken, but because their standards, judgment, or values have outgrown the structure around them. Today, I'm joined by Marty Langenderfer, founder and CEO of Spavia, a retail wellness franchise headquartered in the Denver, Colorado area. Marty, welcome to the Corporate Refugee.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So you're what I'd call a systems builder, someone who scales and maintains ownership systems meant to hold up over time, not just good during periods of growth. I say that with intention. In my work as a franchise consultant with the Franchise Brokers Association, there's one field I pay especially close attention to, and that's the 3-year franchisee retention rate. And for Spavia, that number is 100%. That tells me a very simple story, that franchisees are staying. Another signal I find equally telling is that your former franchise director, Karen White, is now herself a Spavia franchise owner. So for those who are learning about you for the first time, is there anything you want to add before we jump in?
You mentioned Karen White, who was our former franchise development director. It was with mixed feelings to see her go purchase one of our locations, but we were really excited for her. And I think she has a vision of more than one, at some point. But talk about validation. I think that's about the best validation we could really ever see.
Absolutely. So before Spavia, before franchising, can you walk us through how your journey into building systems actually began?
Yeah, it actually began as a CPA, kind of a background that really kind of helped me understand the financial side, really, and the accounting side of business. And then I went to Cornell, got my MBA. I really focused on finance and took quite a few marketing classes, also hospitality management classes, which really kind of formulated maybe a passion that I would later uncover. I helped start Travelocity. So after grad school, went to American Airlines back in the days of Sabre, and was kind of a pioneering team that launched Travelocity, which really completely changed how travel was just distributed. There used to be a travel agency on every corner, and you don't see that as much anymore, as everyone is on their laptop and their phones booking travel. And then I went actually to Dish Network to initially start a travel channel with Bill Gates and Charlie Ergen. I was recruited and also had the opportunity to move back to Denver from Dallas, and Bill and Charlie couldn't get along, so I ended up getting half of the marketing department, and talk about really scaling, building really Dish Network from 300,000 satellite Dish subscribers to 10 million over 7 years. The attention to detail and the systems and processes that we needed to set up were pretty extraordinary. And ultimately, I was put in charge of winning J.D. Powers in the last 2 years. We took it from DirecTV and won it 2 years in a row in the last 2 years that I was there. So we obviously, were able to come up with the scaling and the systems and the processes to deliver satellite television to subscribers across the country.
And then how did you get from there into franchising?
Well, I reached a moment where I looked at my experiences and kind of building someone else's balance sheet. I've got great experience in 2 Fortune 50 companies, and said, I'd really like to kind of develop my own company. And how can I do that best. It's difficult because at my level, I would have had to move to New York or Los Angeles. I had small kids and really wanted to look at small business. So I actually started out as in exploring small business as a franchise broker consultant, much like yourself.
Mm.
And I did that for several months, met with a lot of great founders, CEOs, generally smaller companies, and just learned a ton, learned what all of the structures they created, had great conversations about pain points and things that they could do. They would have done differently, things that they were excelling with. And from there, found myself in the spa business. It was actually waiting in line to buy a gift card for my wife at Aveda Spa. I was 15 guys deep. It was December 23rd. It was minus 10 degrees. I was freezing. I looked around and said, there's room for this.
Mhm.
Spas are popular. They do great things for people, and looked at it and said, this could be a business. Went to Allison, the other co-founder, and said, what do you think about running one? I'll do everything else. I'll do the marketing, the accounting, everything behind the scenes. And if you'll do the inside of the spa and really manage the team and work with the guests. And so that's how we got started.
Now, is it true that your wife is a partner in this business?
Yeah, she actually does a lot of the marketing, graphic design, a lot of the creative. And we kind of pioneered the concept around different designs. So today there are 4 different designs: coastal, mountain design, a vineyard, and then we have our urban sway by Spavia design. So she really spearheads that. She's got an amazing talent for it, and also focuses on really the cultural side and our whole Spavia Cares effort that is fairly significant in our focus.
Now, how long have you been franchising?
20 years. We just had our 20-year anniversary last September 20.
And how long in between, like, when you started Spavia or this company, and then when you got into franchising?
Well, we did. We really franchised right away. We spent about a year after we opened, getting things documented in a place that we thought we could start to scale it. A
Mhm.
vice president that worked for me at Dish Network opened the first Spavia. Someone that had worked for me for 5 years, and a great relationship. So that's how we got started. We always started with the intent to franchise. Studied at the time Starbucks, Howard Schultz, and how he had developed it. Said we'd really rather have owners, franchisees that are in the markets, that are in the communities, that aren't a manager looking maybe to go to corporate or might be there in 2 months, might not. And absolutely love it. It's such a strength of franchising that we have owners that are in their communities. They live it, they breathe it, they lead
Mhm.
their teams, and they care about it, and they're
Mhm.
not going anywhere. It's such a different way of thinking about small business and really a company and a brand.
Yeah, you guys have surpassed over 50 units as a franchise. And I know that's actually a small minority of franchise concepts that actually get to
Hmm.
that number. So have you reflected on that milestone?
Not so much. We hit our 20th year. I think that was kind of a big one. I think we were at where we were 6 months ago at over 60 locations. I think 100 is on our radar, and
Mhm.
that's going to be a big achievement to kind of hit that mark. And it
Absolutely.
looks like that is well within the horizon of where we're going.
That's amazing. So, this podcast is built around a simple idea. Freedom is not the absence of structure, freedom is alignment with the right structure. And franchising at its best makes that visible. From your perspective, where do founders most often design fragility into systems without realizing it?
Well, I think the core tenet, which I really like what you just said, is around processes, systems, and having something that our owners can step into and feel confident that the systems, the structures are there, that by following it, they're going to be successful. We have really good adoption, really good engagement. And one of the challenges when you look at what is potentially fragile, it's the level of engagement. So when franchisees engage with us a lot, they do better. They are able to really leverage all of our learnings over the past 20 years, and that matters a lot. We encourage it, we track it, We look at, how many engagements did we have last month? Is it increasing? Is it decreasing? Why might that happen? Sometimes life happens with franchisees, and, there could be personal things that enter their lives that all of a sudden they're not as engaged. So, we'll reach out and say, hey, what's going on? But there's so many lessons that we've learned. Malcolm came up with the 10,000 hours of to be an expert. I think I've got
Mhm.
close to 50,000 hours, within the spa industry and, within Spavia, which makes such a difference. And there isn't many situations that we haven't encountered. And we haven't looked at, there's a couple of pathways. You can go A, you can go B. Our recommendation based on our experience is going to be to go down, a specific pathway.
Mhm.
And we like being able to do that with our owners. It could be small. It could be just, how do I get the best video out of a charity auction that I've donated that I'm going to? It could
Mhm.
be, kind of how do I edit it all the way to increase our membership levels.
You guys have a very strong franchisee retention rate. It couldn't be any stronger, actually.
Hmm.
And given that, I would think that you guys have done a great job of screening out those franchise owners that might not be the right fit. So I'm curious, what systems do you employ to screen out the wrong candidates?
We take our time, I think is the best way to talk about it. We have several touch points before they'll come to meet the team day. We have a good process with, our franchise candidates talking to owners and getting what is I think, a very real picture of the business that they're getting into, the relationship with Spavia national team that they'll enter into, what it's like to own a business. So I think that probably might be the most important because they're going to understand where they're headed. And usually by the time they do get to the validation stage, they've learned a lot about us. And now it really is, hey, I want to get to know, I want to kind of validate and understand from other owners what the experience has been like.
Mhm.
So then we move into a meet the team day. And normally by the time they're to meet the team day, they're coming on board. We really love the systems that are out there that will do some, particularly with the consultants. Well, they'll go through a process and kind of understand what the best fit will be for them based on their skill sets, their passions. I do think that by the time they get to us, frequently from consultants, they're going to have a good idea with good consultants. And I know Zoracle is one that you use. And when we hear that, we're really excited about that because that's going to help them better understand their strengths and weaknesses. By the time they're getting far enough along through our process, we're really going to look for, can they manage a team? Because we are in the service business and it's important that they have some experience with managing a team. Do they have a passion for the business? Do they want to be in it? And then do they have grit? Because no matter how many systems, we always say you might have a bad day, you might have a bad week. If you love what you're doing, you have a passion for it, and you've got some grit, it's going to go by fairly quickly. And then you'll pull out of it and be in a good place.
Now, just as you have Allison as a partner in this business and has built this business together, do you
Mhm.
find that franchise owners that join Spavia, where you have partners that want to do this together versus by themselves, have you found any more success doing it as a partnership versus doing it standalone by yourself?
No, we've done exceptionally well with individuals that are running it really entirely themselves. They have a good structure that we recommend around them. We have, a designated manager structure that kind of helps them, identify someone that can help provide leadership in the spa and
Mhm.
complement. But we have an owner in New York that, has a son and he fairly young and he has really done amazing. We have a woman in New Jersey who is in our top couple locations who wanted to kind of control her own destiny and is doing phenomenally well without a spouse. So we've had great success, but we've also had some great power couples who
Mhm.
they divide and conquer. They split up duties. We have some ways of doing that. And it really helps with the fact that Allison, the co-founder, myself have done that. So we're able to give some ideas about and some ways of working through successfully. Certainly having your own lanes and sticking to those lanes and understanding each other's strengths and weaknesses and dividing up responsibilities is really important, because from time to time, a couple, both be doing the same things. And we'll see that very early on. And we'll actually have a discussion with them about it, and how much more effective it can be to divide and conquer and take on different areas.
Absolutely. Now, you do have this franchise consultant background. So, when you guys started to franchise this, did you immediately open it up to franchise consultants and franchise
Mm,
broker networks? Or did you start with
mm.
the approach of doing this direct only and then grow into the broker networks?
We didn't. We knew we weren't quite ready for that out of the gate. So we took us about 4 years before we brought on a consultant. We first had a vice president that worked for me, opened the first location. The second location was a Venezuelan couple immigrating. She was a dentist. He was worked for a U.S. company as a fairly senior person in accounting. Great opportunity to bring people in from another country. They did phenomenally well. And then we moved into an owner that opened in Boulder. And then finally it was okay. We might be opened out of state. We had a owner who really tracked us down and said, I want to open. It was in Dallas, and said, we understand where you are. And we're really excited to open. He said, okay, we'll do one out of state. And once we went out of state, the next leg of the journey was to bring in brokers and franchise consultants.
And that first person who opened up a Spavia out of state, was that because they went into a Spavia? They were a customer of yours who actually experienced it or not?
Actually, no, not until she and her husband came to the Meet the Team Day
Mhm.
did they actually come into one, but they saw what we were doing online. We certainly had several discussions. And like many of our franchisees, she was a director of digital marketing at Texas Instruments. She had a professional background, and much like, really the name that you've taken is Corporate Refugee. She was a
Mhm.
corporate. She wanted to get out. She wanted to control her own destiny. And her husband fully supported. And after meeting with them, said this would be a great couple for us to bring on board, especially as our first out of state.
How did that transition go for you guys supporting a franchise owner out of state?
Because it was our fourth, it was pretty strong. It was manageable. So we felt like we had fairly strong systems. And I'll say that we've continued to develop systems. We don't sit still. We're constantly innovating, constantly figuring out better ways to do things. And certainly the advent of artificial intelligence is changing things so significantly right now. It's incredible, like the data that we're getting, the changes to how we approach, mostly technical, mostly website development, but even just finding answers to questions, that come up. I think the
Mhm.
whole team here probably uses either Gemini or Chat GPT 10 to 15 times a day.
Mhm.
And improving cycle time. It's improving just overall kind of intelligence about how we approach things. Pretty exciting time right now.
It is, and, there is a woman, that has a company who supports franchisors in regards to artificial intelligence that's right in your area, and I'm curious if you have heard of her or have worked with her. Her name is Ingrid Schneider.
Yes, I have. Yeah, I have talked with her in the past. Actually didn't realize she was focused in that area.
Mhm.
We managed to get my youngest son that studied AI in college and then worked for a company for 2 years developing large language models,
Okay.
who eventually coded himself out of a job. The team now that focuses on his areas all in Sri Lanka and India. So he came on board with us about 6 months ago, and he is very, very strong at artificial intelligence, and just understands. He was just on um, Claude yesterday.
Mm.
Did something that would have taken us through probably 3 to 4 weeks. 4 years ago, 12 minutes is how long it took, and it was data related.
Mhm.
I just sat there looking at this data that came out in absolute amazement. So we're fortunate to have that, but certainly open to any introductions that you might have.
Mhm. Cool. And then when it comes to artificial intelligence, rolling that out to your franchise owners, right? Can you just
Mhm.
give us an example of what that might have looked like and how you're making that possible for the owners? Because it is kind of a daunting thing.
Well, probably our most important kind of aspect is a partnership with MindBody in
Mm.
terms of our point of sale system. If the vision that spent some time with the CEO there a few weeks ago is what we had in Travelocity, which was how do we eliminate the friction in booking? Our goal is to have natural language where somebody can say, I'd like to schedule this Saturday morning with Sarah for a 60-minute massage. And literally what comes up is the availability of Sarah or something that's going to, show availability of someone else or a different day based on the history of that person. If that person sees Sarah, every month, then we're going to suggest, the next, maybe it's Sunday, maybe it's Monday that she has available. Having that natural language capability is really powerful. We had that in our plans at Travelocity. That was what, 20, 30 years ago. It was in our 5-year plans and it never really happened, which it's so exciting to see that that capability is there. Other things like graphical design, we will be rolling out
Mm.
some abilities using probably Nano Banana, where folks, that's the Gemini graphic,
Mhm.
but there's new stuff coming out all the time so that they can have kind of a template, almost like a graphic design LLM, where they can have a set of templates they can create on the fly, and then that is within the parameters of the brand standards. So that's another area that we're prototyping right now.
That's cool. One part of my work is called Good Humans of Franchising. It's not about brand awards or growth charts. It's about character, stewardship, and how leaders behave when no one's watching. When you look across franchising, what distinguishes good humans from merely effective operators?
Well, within the system, it's relatively straightforward for us. We're about the guest and the guest experience. And, in a service business, it's so important, that that guest come first and then everybody aligns to that. And as long as we do that, we have great success. It's easy to get sideways. It's easy to have discussions and get in a place where it's not about the guest. So that's our kind of our true north is we'll see kind of three legs of the stool, the guest, the team, and then the community are the
Mhm.
three.
And
If I looked out, yeah,
go ahead.
I was going to say, if we looked outside of Spavia per se, I think the area that I would like to see and hope to see, more of companies that do slower, sustainable growth to create great brands and not so much trying to sell as many units as they can. So we've watched so many concepts with selling 3, 5, 10, even sometimes 20. Many never open, but the franchisees mostly need to get some experience. And yeah, they might want to get a couple territories. That's great. But to scale it in a way that your franchisees can feel like you're a sustainable brand, you're going to be around a long time, you've made the right decisions, you haven't cut corners. We see some of that, maybe more than we'd like to see in franchising.
Yeah, I love to hear that responsible growth that you describe because there are so many franchisers out there that it's all about growth and how quickly
Hmm.
when they're actually talking to broker networks, they're talking about how quickly they close the franchise candidate and what
Hmm.
that sales cycle looks like. And to me,
Yeah.
that's just a red flag. Like as a guy who was a franchise owner who was in a system that was challenged, I was an owner operator of 5 years when it was a semi absentee model that I was sold on. And
Hmm.
so
Hmm.
I get very nervous and cautious to work with a franchisor that's like that. So refreshing to hear a guy like yourself
Mhm.
who has a franchise concept where it is about responsible growth and not about units, but more about getting the right people
Mhm.
in that are going to grow this thing so that you guys have control of it and it's in a good place for the end customer.
It's really also interesting to think about the whole concepts around conglomerates that were in the 1980s, where a management team of a Fortune 500 company would say, "We're so good at managing, we can go into any vertical." And that pretty much ended fairly quickly with a lot of acquisitions that didn't pan out because the knowledge of the space actually mattered, the knowledge of the vertical. We have in our team over 100 years of spa experience. Management team comes in, maybe it's from investors, and they kind of have that feeling of, "Well, this is easy. We can get to know this vertical," and kind of makes me reflect back to those conglomerates that really many weren't successful, because
Mhm.
I don't think it's a plug and play. I don't think you can just come in and learn a vertical, learn the spa industry in 6 months and be able to make effective decisions and
Mhm.
take it to the next level, of which we've seen some of that in our spa franchise world.
Is there anyone that you could think of as you have been in franchising for 20 years or so that made a remarkable impact on you as a franchisor now, if you look back?
Gosh, there's been a lot of people that have. I think probably a partnership that we had with Fran Worth and Dave Barr for a time was very strong, and that's really kind of what taught me a deeper understanding of franchising. David was the one who said it's better that that the franchisees engage with you a lot, and I was like, well, doesn't it mean our training systems have failed if they're calling us a lot? Because that would be the Fortune 50 company perspective. And it was, no, no, you want that engagement. You want that interaction. So that was really a pivotal change in kind of my learning about how to manage and lead a successful franchise organization.
Gotcha. And is there anyone today in franchising that you kind of look to as someone who you want to follow in terms of like these guys are doing really good things and I really like the way that they are going after responsible growth and maybe are larger than you guys? If there's a specific person or franchise that you
Mhm.
admire?
There are a lot of interesting things happening, and we'll kind of pick out things that we really like that are best practices. Of course, it's becoming so much fun to do that, because if there's a specific thing, I can go right into Gemini and say, who's good at this? And
Mm,
then sometimes we'll have conversations about it, and some collaboration here in Denver, with Spanga. Really like kind of the team there and some of the
mhm,
things that they've done. And
mhm,
so we have some common vendors that we work with, and really like some of the things that they're doing.
mhm. Cool. So you've now been you've been 20 years CEO of Spavia?
Yeah, I don't know if there was really much of a CEO title in the first couple of years.
Mhm.
It felt more like operational, kind of getting things ready. But yeah, for the past 20 years, and it's
So
uh, it's been quite a exciting journey.
what does retirement look like for you?
Well, I had this interesting learning when I left Dish Network, and I semi-retired and said, gosh, what are all the exciting things that I can go do? And I did a bunch of them. Quickly learned that lots of my friends were really busy with kids and work, and kind of realized at that point I kind of like working. So I'll work till I'm quite a bit older,
Mhm,
at least another 20 years. Hopefully I'll scale it down, in some aspects so that I won't
mhm,
work quite as much. It's fun during this period, and I probably work more than I should, but we're kind of having a really fun, a lot of momentum right now, really great team. And I've got a lot of energy. I tend to run a marathon last year. I try to work out 60 to 90 minutes a day, kind of to keep my energy level high, which has been great so far. And we have
mhm.
two, our youngest son and John and Emily. Emily, we got from Hyper Ice, and she's doing a significant part of our marketing now. So we have more family that is now engaged.
That's awesome. Well, before we close, I want to end with a short lightning round. So short answers, no overthinking.
Okay.
Speed or durability?
Speed.
Founder intuition or documented process?
Most of these are both documented process.
Growth pressure or operational clarity?
Operational clarity. That's the easy one.
High standards or broad consensus?
High standards.
Autonomy or guardrails?
Guardrails.
Is there one belief about franchising you've changed your mind about over time?
How important recurring guests are, recurring revenue. I didn't understand early on the importance of that. And it goes with a good brand. People want to come back, but certainly, having a membership program. In fact, I know you wanted short answers, but I was talking to one of our owners that's moving to a second location and she's selling her tapas and wine bar. And I asked her kind of what's kind of brought you down this path. And she said, well, in a restaurant kind of business, you can have these great weekends and then things are quiet for a week or two. And she said, I love owning my Spavia because it's half of our revenue is membership based. It's reoccurring. I know it's going to happen. And kind of the security around that is really powerful. So she's headed towards her second location right now.
How long did it take you guys to pivot from, let's say, the pack structure to the membership kind of monthly service model? Or has it always been this way? Because it seems like a newer
It's always
phenomenon.
It's always been with the membership, but not as strong.
Mhm.
So we really started to focus a lot more on it. But we started day one with membership
Wow,
concept.
that's amazing. I love it. Is there anything that you want to leave us with?
What is our secret sauce? A lot of people will ask us. And I think if I look at all the things that we do, Spavia Cares comes to mind. We do a lot of innovation. We've got great designs. We've got really a lower cost to build because of some good discipline, recurring revenue. But I would say our secret sauce is our strong franchisees. When you
Mhm.
do take your time to grow right and you bring on the right franchisees who make the commitment, it makes all the difference in the world. And so I would encourage if anyone is going into franchising to take that time, like we've talked about in this podcast, to take the time to really nurture and get the right team members and the right partners.
Mhm. Thank you so much for your time, Marty. For those that want to get in touch with you or your team, you know,
They can go to our website, or I'm happy to have them contact me directly. And as our franchisees also know, they can call me, they can text me at any time. And so far, I've not been overwhelmed. So it's great to be able to have that interaction.
that is a great approach. I love it. I really appreciate your time, Marty, and hope we can do this again soon.
Awesome. All right. Thank you.
If there's one idea that this conversation reinforces, it's this: that durable systems aren't built through speed, they're built through engagement, restraint, and alignment. In franchising, growth can be loud, while retention is quiet. And quiet signals are often the most truthful ones. Marty's perspective reminds us that freedom isn't the absence of structure, it's alignment with the right structure. If you're evaluating a franchise system, a career system, or a life system, the real question isn't how fast can this grow? It's will this still make sense when reality clicks in? Thank you for listening to the Corporate Refugee. For deeper reflections on durable systems, fit first ownership, and freedom through proven systems, you can find the accompanying essay and newsletter in the description. And until next time, choose durability over hype.